Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week, you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. Hey, folks, we're heading down to Tennessee, and we're going to connect with Brandon Dowdy of Southern Woods and Waters. What's Southern Woods and Waters? Well, it's all about the outdoors in Tennessee. And a while back, Brandon got invited on the show as a guest because he specializes in small farm management for whitetails. He graduated from the Texas Tech University, and he just liked helping people figure out how to keep deer and grow deer and have a balanced deer herd, and every once in a while see a big deer on his property. So saying all of that, he got connected with Hugh McNaughton, and as they say, that's the rest of the story because he is now the co-host of Southern Woods and Waters TV. So, folks, I'm really excited because Brandon, he's one funny guy. We'll talk to you soon, and listen to the show. Hey, folks, this is Bruce Hutchin, and we're heading down south, and you're going to hear from Brandon Dowdy. And Brandon's with Southern Woods and Water TV, plus he's a wildlife manager in the area where he lives. So, Brandon, welcome to the show, and I'm excited to hear some of the tricks and techniques you have, especially for those guys that don't have 1,000 acres, but, they're running 40, 50, 100 acres, and guess what? They're killing big deer. So let's talk about that right
That's
from the
right.
get-go.
Right.
So go ahead. Let's talk about that. That guy's got small plots of land, but he's making it happen.
Yeah. The first thing that I always like day one, as soon as I meet with them, we try to look around. One of the first things you want to do is find out what your neighbors have, and try to see if you can offer those deer something that your neighbors are not offering them. So that's one of the first things we want to look at. And then beyond that, speaking of neighbors, the next very biggest thing that you've got to try to do is work a co-op with your neighbors. Get your neighbors involved. Um, Let those neighbors know your management plans and what you're wanting to accomplish. And many times they'll be on the same page already. You just didn't realize it.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean to me? Because
Well,
up here, in the Midwest, upper Midwest, and then out in
uh,
Colorado where I live, we have a lot of land. I mean, the small farms, 100, 180 acres, and the big farms,
yeah,
500 acres. So
right.
how do we relate to that?
Well, all right. So I got an example. We've got a farm down the road from me here that is 116 acres. And for around here, that's a big piece of continuous land. But it's still not enough to hold a deer on all the time. So what I've got is I've got a deal with my neighbors where I've got four neighbors that border me, and we're all on the same management practice, same plan, working together. So we've basically taken that 116 acres and turned it into around 500. I can't hunt the whole 500, and they can't hunt the whole 500, but the whole 500 is managed and kept under the same management practice as if it were all one continuous farm.
Now, how does that work? Is that like everybody signs up on the QDMA or?
Uh, Not necessarily. It's usually just a handshake and a cup of coffee kind of deal, you know. So and everybody sticks to it pretty tight. Now, of course, we have exceptions. We get kids in there or something like that. But everybody pretty much sticks to what our goal is, and it works out good for everybody. Working together too, you might have a particular buck that disappears for a couple days or something, and you can reach out to those guys, and one of them might say, "Hey, I saw him on my place 2 days ago," and it kind of helps you keep up with what's going on in the area as well.
Now, what about cost? Does everybody cost share or co-op the cost of?
Um, no, not necessarily with us. This is all private land holdings that people just own and they want to manage. One of the guys on one of the corners is just about 30 acres. So it's hard to really manage 30 acres, but with him being involved in that big mass of land, it's basically like he gets to hunt the 30 acres of a 500-acre managed area, you know.
So, are we talking micro plots then, or
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
a
We
small
usually do
water
micro
holes?
plot. Yep, we have both actually. We do a lot of micro plotting and things like that. Like I was mentioning to you earlier, it's what we've been out working on today. We've been doing some brassicas and things like that. But my average food plot that we put in for people is usually no more than around an acre to 3 acres. And we do a lot of quarter acre and half acre plots, and they're very efficient. What I call a kill plot. It's not something that's going to draw in hundreds of deer and grow monster bucks. It's something that's going to put a feeding, calm deer in front of a hunter.
So kill plots, and you hear a lot of different stories about that, and where people say, well, if I hinge cut, do everything right, I'm going to have he's going to come in here, I'm going to be able to smoke him, and that isn't necessarily true, is it?
Uh, no, it's not. It's a lot of it has to do with doing the best management that you can. You want to get your food plots, your uh,
Man, I just lost you.
anything, all that's going to come running out. Um, yeah, all the time I tell people too, deer shooting may only last a couple of months, but deer season ends with the year.
Yeah, I'm losing you, Brandon. Doggone it. I don't, I, I don't know why. It must be on my end or something because you're pretty well set up, but I just lost
Yeah, I start to say I'm
every.
setting tight, and I'm showing
Yeah,
4 bars on here.
yeah, everything you just said went away. And I can edit this stuff out, but let's just go. We're at 47 and 447.
Let me get out of the vehicle too. I'll see if that helps. I don't think that would see if it makes it better. Has that made any effect?
Yeah, that's a little better already.
Okay, let's try that. Maybe just for some reason the truck was kind of messing me up.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds a lot better. So let's go back to the, microplots in your big co-op where everybody's kind of pitching in and everybody's hunting, a 600-acre plot, but they
Hmm.
only use, they only have one stand, but if it's the right position,
Right,
they got a great
that's right.
opportunity.
Yeah, you can take the right 10 acres. If it's 10 acres and it's in the right spot, it can be a fantastic 10 acres. And I tell people a lot of times too. Now I know it is different in the Midwest and all, but around here, when you're sitting in any given stand, you are usually aren't looking at any more than just a few acres of property. So if you have 10 acres and it's in the middle of 500 managed acres, it can still be a fantastic place.
Yeah, and that's sometimes we get all wound up. I've got to have this much acres and I got to have this big a food plot and everything. If you're in the right place, a pinch point, a funnel point, a topography throws in a saddle or something like that, you can have a half an acre and you're going to be able to shoot deer because they're going to come
That's
through.
exactly right. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And the biggest management tool that any of us have, no matter where you're at in the South, Midwest, anywhere, is you're right here. It's your trigger finger. Um, and that's what I tell people too. A lot of times, you hear so much. Well, if I don't shoot him, a neighbor will. We hear that a lot here. And you know, sometimes you got to look at yourself and say, "Am I that neighbor? Am I that guy?" Um, that's the one that's shooting the deer, and the other guys are saying that I'm going to shoot it if they don't, or vice versa. So the deal is, no matter what, if your management goal, let's say for example, I like to manage to 4.5 years old. If that's your goal, if you see a 2.5 year old deer, you can't talk yourself into shooting it just because you think your neighbor will. Because number one, he's not going to see all the deer. That deer may not ever walk past him. On top of that, if you don't go and talk to your neighbors and get on the same page as them, you could be quote unquote that neighbor. He could be trying to manage to 4.5, and you're shooting 2.5 year old deer because you're afraid he's going to shoot him. So that's why it's so important to get our neighbors involved. And even if they don't want to be on the same management strategy as you, at least you will know what kind of strategy they have, and you can better format yours to fit that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had one guy he said, I like to go around with cold Coca Cola and a peach pie during the summertime and just go meet my neighbors. And so many people
Yeah,
listen up. I don't care where you are, Canada to wherever, that works. I mean, that really does work.
it does. I mean, you'd be amazed at how much it can help. And that's kind of what I said a while ago. There's no contracts or signing things. It's usually a cup of coffee and deer hunting discussion. Which we all love that. But that's all it usually takes sometimes to at least like I say, at least know where they stand and know what their goals are and what their practices are. And it's helpful for everybody. And you liable to come out with some good friends out of the deal. I know I have over the years, and a lot of the folks that I've helped manage have ended up with good friends. And there's nothing like having a good neighbor on the other side of that fence, and not just for deer hunting reasons. You know, there's lots of other reasons. You get that guy in your good graces, he's going to help you look after your property and keep an eye on things if you're not around all the time. So keeping good relationships with your neighbors is invaluable in deer management, but in other areas also.
Now, what about absentee owners? I know in the Midwest, especially Buffalo County, where I hunt a few days, a few farms, um, a lot of the neighbors, they're out of Chicago, they're out of Kansas City, they're out of wherever, but the sure as heck not out of, Buffalo County, and they're gone, and they're only up there 20 days a year, if that. How do you manage that?
Well, what I would tell people, if they it would just depend on what you were hunting on, whether you were hunting a hunting club or on a big acreage lease or however it might work out. But what I would tell people to do in that case is try to get with those folks when they are there. Take an afternoon that maybe the hunting's not going to be great or there's not a lot going on. Try to go over there and meet some of them, or even maybe that evening after everybody's done hunting. See if you can't go over there and meet them. And you may end up sitting around the fire for a little while and enjoying things with them. But really, the biggest thing is you just have to get in front of them. And in the case like you're speaking of, it may be that you have to take one of your afternoons and go over and spend it with them. But it'll be well worth it once you do in most cases.
Now, in your estimation, I know your management, your manager, wildlife manager. How big is too big, and how small is too small of a piece of land?
Well, to be honest, I don't think I think it's possible on any of the above. As far as small property, the biggest thing I would say about small property is just making sure that it's large enough that you can safely hunt it. That there's no land dwelling, no dwellings or anything so close that it would be unsafe to hunt on. But if you had a couple of acres behind the house there that was huntable and you could safely hunt on it, that would be fine. And the only disadvantage to large property, of course, everybody wants as much property as they can get. But I have some guys that have so much property they can hunt that they have a hard time narrowing down where not only where the after, but where do they want to sit that day, or where do they want to try to focus on that week. Whereas if you've just got, like I say, the main farm I hunt's just a little over 100 acres, and there's only so many choices there, and I can keep up with the deer movement on that piece of property a little bit better, and I pretty much know what's going on. Before I get there, just through the use of trail cameras and things like that, and there's only so many places I can move to and go, and it kind of keeps me on those deer. And so there's really advantage and disadvantage to either one, but I don't really think there would be anything too large or too small. You just need to figure out kind of the area that you want to be in and what those deer are doing in that area at a given time of the year.
Let's switch it up and let's talk about Southern Woods and Water TV, and let's
Yeah,
hear the backstory because that's an interesting one. And here you are, doing something you just flat out love.
I do. Like I say, that's nothing but a blessing from above that all that worked out. But Southern Woods and Waters has been on television for a long time. Here in Nashville, there was a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Holt that hosted a show that was under the name of Tennessee Outdoorsman, and he hosted it for 34 years. And towards the end of those years, a man named Hugh McNaughton became his co-host for a while. And then when Mr. Jimmy retired, Hugh carried the show on, and at that point in time, it changed broadcast stations. It went over to News Channel 5 here in Nashville, Tennessee. And when that happened, the name was changed to Southern Woods and Waters. And Hugh McNaughton has hosted that now for a little over 18 years. And I have known Hugh for a long time. We've gotten to know each other a lot better over the last few years. And after a speaking engagement that he did at my church, we kind of talked and again, I was invited on the show at that point in time to come and talk about deer management on small properties and things, and everything just went well. And there was a very good viewer response. And within a couple of months, they came and spoke to me, and kind of they're looking for someone to come in and co-host with him full time. and eventually carry on the torch when he is ready to retire himself. And I was the one that was blessed enough to be able to do that.
See, I told you you're a rock star, man. That's so cool. No, and what's cool about that? Everybody wants to, be on TV or be on the radio, and yeah, anybody can be a podcaster. That's not so hard, but you did it right. You said, "Well, I was on the show and I followed up and had conversations and this thing, that thing, and then all of a sudden, by the grace of God, here you are, and you're doing
Yeah,
something that you love, and listeners, it doesn't happen overnight. Just speak to that career path about it
it
doesn't
you know
happen
it
overnight.
That's right. It doesn't happen overnight, and I'll tell you, even just a year or so ago, if you would have said, "Hey, you're going to be doing full time hosting of a outdoor television show," I would have looked at you like you had three heads. And again, here we are, and it's been fantastic. We've reached out to so many people, and Hugh has just been. He's taken me under his wing and taught me so many things. Excuse me, Bruce. He's taught me so many things just about I know a lot about management and hunting. I've done that my entire life, but I didn't know that much about TV production, and especially live television. Because I mean, it's a live show for an hour every week, so you got to be on your toes. And he's just been crucial with the way that he has just taught me and introduced me to people and kind of let me learn the ropes. And we reached out to so many people, and there's so many viewers that they're able to get local information here. It's there's lots of places you can go on television. You and I both know that we can go and we can watch a deer hunt or a turkey hunt, whatever it is that we're interested in. But there's not a lot of places you can go and get true information on it. Not only how it was done or the best ways to go about it, but with this show, we reach a little over 1 million people. But it is pretty much all across the state of Tennessee and a little bit of Alabama and Kentucky and Georgia. But my point is, they're getting local information. They're getting information on the deer that are right there in their area, or on the bass or whatever it is we may be covering at the time. And it's just the community support around it is fantastic. And so, like I say, it's just been a blessing, and I hope to carry it, above and beyond where it's even been before. And he has done a fantastic job with it. There's just so many people that he has reached out and touched, and kids he's gotten involved in the outdoors, and so I want to continue that going, and I plan on doing that fully.
Yeah, one of your goals in the warm up for Get Out in the show was inviting new people or recruiting new people. How do you do that? How do you get those
Um,
people out of
well,
doors?
we have events and things like that that first of all, just get them in and get them interested and get them some more information on hunting or fishing in their area. Here in the state of Tennessee, we're blessed to be here where we are. We have lots and lots of public land opportunities, so people don't really have a hard time at least being able to have somewhere to go and hunt. We have excellent fishing around here, so it's easy to get them out there. But we do events, we do fishing events where we can get lots of people involved at once. But obviously, we can't just take everybody hunting at the same time. We do take several kids a year. We had a kid just this past week. It's our dove season here in Tennessee right now, and that's just a huge heritage, big time traditional thing around here. Lots of good food and fellowship. But we had a kid that we took last Saturday. It's 12 years old, never fired a gun, never hunted in his whole life, was just terribly interested in it, raised by a single mother, and she has no way of really getting him out, getting him going. And she reached out to us. People can reach out to us anytime through Facebook, or we give out our emails. And she reached out to us and was trying to find a way we might could get them involved. And I had a shoot at my personal farm, and we invited him and a couple of others to come out and got them involved. And I mean, that just grinning ear to ear, And I mean, he'll be on it the rest of his life. That's all it took was just that one day. But just by simply reaching out that much and giving them a few hours for an afternoon or something, you can change their whole life and their whole perspective as to the way they look at the outdoor industry and hunting and fishing like that. So things like that is what we try to do. And like I told you before too, it's not necessarily just children. Um, I'm also very involved, and I'm an administrator with a Facebook site here that is called Tennessee Deer Hunters. and we answer and field questions for lots of people all the time. There's just a wealth of information there. We have over 35,000 members there, but my point is, many of them are adults that are just now getting into hunting for whatever reason it may be. And there's a lot of questions out there that are asked and answered every day that to guys like me and you, it may just seem it just as simple as day and night, but to them, they just don't know. So the biggest thing is just keeping information out there for everybody. Like I say, it's not just kids. We've got to keep our heritage and tradition going. So I'm looking to help anybody, whether they're 40 years old and never hunted, or 12 years old, and never hunted. So it is important to remember it's not just kids.
Now, do you have somebody 16 and somebody 40 on your show on Southern Woods and Water TV? Have you ever interviewed them?
Actually, we have interviewed several kids. And as a matter of fact, I don't know my weeks right off the top of my head, but about 5 weeks, we're going to have kids on just prior to our statewide juvenile hunt, and we'll be talking to some of them. We'll have some kids that one in particular that will be their first hunt coming up, and one that is a 16-year-old. I mean, deer that just for his age is just amazing what this kid has learned. And he was blessed to be like me, and he's been able to spend his whole life out in the woods, and he's just a prime example of what happens when you do raise them up in it and teach them every day, kind of the ways of what we do. And he's fantastic. So yeah, we like to get the kids on and have people get to know them and interview them a little bit too. Just kind of see things through their eyes. They see things so much differently than we do sometimes, and many times they can open your eyes to things just as well as you can them. Them. So.
Now, Southern Woods and Water, um, we know the backstory. Where's it going? And two, how do people find it?
Um, Well, as far as where we're going, we're going to continue to do a lot of the things that have been done over the last 18 plus years, and that is providing people with information, whether it be fishing reports or deer hunting reports. We have people come in and talk about new laws. One of our sponsors is actually the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, so we have them, uh, close by any questions or things that people may have. But so it's going to be a lot of the things from the past. We'll have vendors come in and things like that may have new products that we want people to know about. But some things we're going to do a little bit more in the future is just a little bit more in the field filming, and some things like that. There's not been a lot of that in the past, and we're going to get to a little bit more of that. And I don't necessarily mean going in the field to film us shooting a deer or something like that. There may be some of that, but I mean more so. We were doing some video cuts yesterday, just about hanging tree stands and safely putting up your stands and how you want to trim the limbs and things like that. Just like I say, general information that to someone like us may seem fairly simple, but to someone that doesn't know, it could really change their season for them.
Yeah.
And as far as people finding us, we're on Facebook at Southern Woods and Waters on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. Each Thursday night at 8 o'clock Central Time live, we're on News Channel 5 Plus, which is here in Nashville, Tennessee, and they're a major news network here out of Nashville, and we're on there live. But now, for those folks that are not here around Nashville or in our viewing area here in Tennessee, we can also be found on YouTube. And the best place to find all of your past episodes, beginning 24 hours after they're filmed, is on the News Channel 5 website for here in Nashville. And that News Channel 5 website, you can just simply search Southern Woods and Waters, and it will show you all past episodes beginning 24 hours ago. Um, and also, a lot of people have this Roku television now, and I myself, I have it here at the house, and there's a Channel 5 Roku app, and we're also available on there. You can watch each episode weekly on the Roku app, but it only holds one episode at a time. So you can also preset to have it come onto your DVR or something like that. But we're pretty readily available now. We're not just on the Nashville network anymore. We're with all this internet and ways of other people reaching us. We have fans in from Texas. We have fans in Canada. We have people in Vermont. Just places it will surprise you being a Tennessee-based television show, but it's pretty amazing how far out the outreach is.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Hey, we're at the time of the show. Why don't you give some shout outs to your team members, to the family, to whoever you want to, and then we're going to wrap the show.
Sure. First of all, I just again, I know I've already mentioned him, but just Hugh McNaughton, who's also with Southern Woods and Waters, just the way that he has taken and taken me under his wing and let me be a part of this and kind of live this dream has been fantastic. And then I guess my next biggest shout out would have to be to my wife, Marcy, because she puts up with all the time that I spend out doing these things and kind of doing what I absolutely love to do. Sean Tyson with X Out Odor Products and Pure One Outdoors. Sean's just a great guy. I've been involved with him now for a couple of years, and he's kind of helped me along the way. So again, this is certainly not something that I've gotten to be involved in on my own. I've had a lot of just fantastic support, and I'm sure there are plenty more. As far as hunting too, I definitely would have to say my dad, Bob Dowdy, for all the time that he spent getting me out here and doing this from the time I was knee high, and teaching me the things that I know and building the passion that I have.
Well, thanks for that. And with that, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, hey, check out Channel 5 Tennessee and see what Southern Woods and Water TV is all about. Brandon, he'll make you laugh for sure, for sure.
We'll try to. We try to get a good laugh in every week. So
up next is Matt Dye and Adam Keith from Land and Legacy. What's Land and Legacy about? Well, everybody knows that deer need land to grow, and that's basically it. To live, food, shelter, and clothing, as they say. Actually, deer need food, cover, and water. You have those strings, and you get things in balance. Then you're going to grow a deer herd. Well, that's what Matt and Adam do. They take a look at your land and figure out the best use for all its properties, using terrain and places to put food plots and all that. And so they're traveling across the country and sharing their knowledge with people. And the other thing is about the legacy, and they believe the legacy that they're going to leave is more important than anything. They're going to leave a legacy. Let's see how they say it. The legacy we leave is the life we lead, the life of Christ in us and through us, passed on to others in the power of the Holy Spirit. A couple of stand-up guys, they know exactly where their moral compass is headed. And so I'm just really happy to have Adam and Matt on the show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.